Ready to roll.
Ready to roll.
Ready to roll. Screenagers. We're back. It's the Canon. Another episode of your favorite movie podcast, the only movie podcast providing you with a watch list of the most essential movies ever made. My name's Raf, and we have another amazing essential movie lined up for y'all today. We're going to be talking The Thin Man, and joining me to talk about it, Screenage Wasteland's own, What a Picture's own, Pole Position's own. You know him, you love him, Mr. Bryan Loomis. He's back. How's it going?
I'm back. I'm back to talk. I think uh, part of my responsibility is coming on anytime there's like the most fun imaginable 30s movie. So I came on for Adventures of Robin Hood, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And coming on for The Thin Man again. You know, some of these 30s movies are just so much fun.
yeah.
So glad to be able to join for this one.
What was the Adventures of Robin Hood your last episode, or was Spinal Tap? Those were
I don't know. I think we did Adventures of Robin Hood most recently. I think
okay.
that was this year, if I
Yeah,
had to guess. But
both very fun movies. Yeah. While
yeah,
I was watching, so I hadn't seen The Thin Man, and while I was watching it, I was thinking, oh yeah, Brian does like to come on for the comedies. You're
yeah. So Hannah and I did that podcast where we went through the whole Sight and Sound list, which is very international, pretentious, lots of serious movies, not a lot of comedies. So it's fun to just come on and talk about like a movie that's a good hang, you know?
yeah.
Didn't get that as much with my podcast. So yeah.
No, not a lot of post-war Eastern European fun hang movies on the Sight and Sound list. That's not what
No,
they were doing in Poland in the 50s.
nope. Certainly not. I don't think there are any Polish films on the Sight and Sound Top 100, which is a shame because there are some good ones. Some Kieslowski? No Kieslowski on the Sight and Sound 100.
I,
You were just throwing out Polish there, and I
yeah,
took you seriously. So
yeah.
sorry about that.
No, yeah, I'm not someone to be taken seriously. That's not. You should know that by
Some
now.
Jerzy Skolimowski. He's Polish. Actually, I think Kieslowski is not Polish. Now I'm getting my Eastern European countries all confused now, Raf.
That's kind of racist of
You've
you.
gotten me gotten me on a very like deep track cinephile rabbit trail here,
Yeah.
talking about my Eastern European cinema.
I kind of want to keep you on this path. I want to see how far down this path you can go, how far down you can take us into your Eastern European bag of film knowledge, because mine is very limited.
You want to see how many countries I can recommend a film from in Eastern Europe?
Yeah, let's see it.
All
Let's
right.
hear it.
I'm gonna look up Eastern Europe and try to find a list of countries here.
Okay, the Czech
And then I'm
Republic.
gonna
Do you have
see.
anything from there?
Oh
I can
yeah,
give you
Daisies.
countries. Okay.
Daisies, easy. Yeah.
Um,
Vera Chitilova's Czech New Wave masterpiece, Daisies.
have not seen it.
It
Anything
is
from
worth seeing.
Hungary?
Oh yeah, Bellatar is from Hungary.
Oh, nice.
So maybe my favorite movie ever, Workmeister Harmonies. The Hungarian movie that you need to check out. Slow cinema. You dabbled in any slow cinema, Raf?
I can be a slow cinema guy for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know that I am, but I could be if needed.
you could be. You can get into a little Tarkovsky at times.
Oh,
if you want to. Yeah.
1000%. Yeah, I fuck with
Okay.
Tarkovsky.
Yeah. Check out
Let's see.
Workmeister Harmonies. You'd like it.
Other Eastern European nations. Is there anything from like the former Yugoslavian states? Any films that you would recommend from
I can't
from
think of any.
Bosnia?
Hold up.
Any Serbian
I've
films?
just got the thing. I've got just the thing. I'm a Letterboxd Pro member for just this reason because they do the map
Okay.
and you can click on all the countries you've seen films from. I've seen one film from Latvia. Flow.
Nice.
Yeah, Flow is good. Flow rips.
Okay. The
That
only
was
Latvian I
last
know
year's
is
animated feature winner.
Kristaps Porzingis.
Okay, Poland. Okay, Kieslowski and Skolimowski are Polish. Decalogue has got to be the one for uh, Poland. But if you don't have time
10
for
hours.
10 1 hour movies, you can just watch a short film about killing, which is basically the condensed version of, or the expanded version of Decalogue 6, and
Mhm.
is a masterpiece of a film. Oh, also you got Zulawski is from Poland. So you can get into like On the Silver Globe, which is like the most batshit crazy movie you'll ever see.
Oh, yeah, that's been on my watch list for ages.
And he also did Possession, which is maybe more popular because it's actually gotten distribution. You
Yeah.
can't really find a good way to see On the Silver Globe unless you have, I think it's on archive.org, so you can watch it there. But if you want
Mhm.
like physical media, you have to have a Region 2 Blu-ray player to watch it even. So
It's out there. It's tough to find. Possession, they did some screenings of, like, when it was, like, first coming back into distribution at one of my favorite theaters in the city at the Metrograph, which is a great spot for screenings. They do a bunch of, like, really cool, mostly, like, older international film screenings. How did we get
yeah,
here?
I've heard good things about the Metrograph. I'm real jealous of all of this cool rep stuff that comes to play in New York, and also all the cool new stuff that comes to play in New York. So you got it good up there.
It's so in general, we have it good up here, but I've realized recently that in doing this show, I have so many movies that are getting added to my watch list through like recommendations and stuff, but because I'm spending so much time, producing and making this show, that I look up and I'm like, "Oh, I have no time to watch movies anymore."
Yeah. Only the movies for the show.
Only
Yeah.
the movies for the show. I was looking at my letterbox as of today. We're recording
Mhm.
this in mid-November, and I have seen 4 movies this month, which is
Ooh,
horrendous. 3 for this show and the new Jurassic Park movie. Those are the
the
only
new
things that
Jurassic
I've
Park.
logged on Letterboxd this month.
Do you wish you could swap out the new Jurassic Park movie for a different movie now that you've seen it? Or do you stand by that choice? Being
I
the only movie that you watched not for a podcast this
it
month.
it's upsetting that that's the only movie that I've watched that hasn't been for the show, but I will say that it did serve its purpose. I watched it on like a very like slow Sunday morning where I couldn't like fully engage in something meaningful or all that
Oh yeah.
interesting. So I was like kind of like doing stuff around the house and like, just waking up and like all that kind of stuff. So it was a good movie for that particular setting. But yeah, that's the only other movie that
Yeah.
I've watched this
You
month.
gotta have like, there are some movies that's like, okay, I'm gonna sit down undistracted with fully alert mind and watch this. And there's some like, I just need to throw something on that's a little easier. You gotta
Yeah.
be in the right frame of mind for stuff. I get that.
Yeah. There's put the phone in the other room kinds of movies. And then there's a movie to put on while you're, deleting old emails or something. And the new Jurassic Park movie is a deleting old emails kind of movie.
So I think, Raph, that I have only seen of new releases this year. So I've watched some old stuff as well, but of new releases this year, I think I have only seen one franchise movie. I
Good for
wonder if
you.
you can guess which one it is
I'm gonna
based
guess.
on what you know about me.
I would guess 28 years later.
Oh, nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Yep, that's the one.
That's the only one
That's
that
my
seems like
guy.
it would be remotely within your wheelhouse.
Yeah, because, Danny Boyle, Alex Garland has sort of fallen off, but it's
Yeah.
fine. He still knows how to write characters mostly.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought it was okay, you know?
Yeah. It was there were there were elements of it that I liked. I think I preferred the first half where it read like cool father-son zombie hunting video game those parts I
Mhm.
really liked, and I wasn't so in on the dying mom stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
because
I
I
thought
hate
the idea.
women?
No, maybe you don't want women to die, so that'd be a good. That's a pro, I think. But I like the idea of the alphas; those were cool.
Mhm.
The last like minute of the film is absolutely incredible. Loved it. Um,
Yeah, I'm kinda interested to see what happens with the Bone Temple one, which seems
yeah.
like, from the last, like, 30 seconds of the movie, you, like, fully know what the next movie is gonna be, and that also seems like a cool idea, and Nia DaCosta is a cool director, so, like, give her a story from Alex Garland and Danny Boyle and see what she can do with it with, cool zombies and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm I'm down for that. I'll check that out.
Yep. Yep. Okay, I've also seen some other movies that I want to yell about real quick because
Okay.
I did not like them. Two movies that I thought were absolutely abysmal
From 2025.
from this year. From
Okay.
this year. Okay, Frankenstein, terrible,
Oh,
absolutely terrible
wow.
movie. It's
Okay.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it doesn't morally offend. It just looks so terrible. It is very like you know how there are movies that are like shot on digital, but it's like, oh, that's just because everything is shot on digital right now. And then there are
Mhm.
movies that you watch and you're like, oh, that was shot on digital. It just like looks like it was intentionally shot as digital as possible
But not in, like,
and
a
like
cool
didn't
Michael Mann's Miami Vice kind of
right.
way.
So it's like the way everything is shot is like lots of light coming in from windows, but then everybody is backlit as a result, and so you get a bunch of like shadowy faces, and
Mhm.
it's just like has no one ever like hopped on a Zoom call and figured out how to set up their lighting? Like these are basics about how to light people in scenes, but I think it's just because they want all of this like light coming in from windows,
Mhm.
and they also want people to be facing, but everything is just like dark and shadowy and not in a cool like the Godfather Part 2 way.
Yeah.
Because that was shot on film and you can
Mhm.
pull that off. You can't do that when it's digital. So everything looks terrible. The CGI is awful, like really, really bad and noticeably bad. Um, the characters don't make any sense. There's some real groaner lines.
Hell yeah.
Uh,
I can't
and
wait to watch it now.
man, yeah. So there was that, and I wasn't morally offended. I was just deeply bored by that one.
Can I guess what the other one is? Is it a
Yeah, you can
more
guess.
is it a more recent release?
A more recent release than Frankenstein?
Well, maybe not than Frankenstein, but in the grand scheme of things,
Yes, it came out this year.
it came out this year in the back half of 2025,
Uh,
or is it a front
maybe
half movie? Okay.
it was summer.
I It was summer. Okay, the other one that I was gonna guess was House of Dynamite. I feel like that's something
Oh
that
yeah,
you
that was
would.
bad too.
Okay,
Yeah,
but not as morally offensive as this other movie from 2025 that you didn't like, and it's not a franchise movie because we know that you don't like those. So it wasn't like Superman or the new Fantastic Four movie or Wicked for Good because that's not out yet.
no.
But those are all movies that I assume you would be extremely offended by.
I'm
Uh,
I might like Superman. I might give it a try.
I
I
think,
just haven't
yeah.
made time for it. Yeah. I'm not super in on James Gunn in general, but it seems
Same.
like he's toned down the annoying stuff a
I thought
little
his
bit
Suicide
for it.
Squad movie was incredibly annoying.
Yeah, he can get there for sure. Um
Okay.
so
Was it
think like the most smarmy movie. I do not respond well to smarminess.
to
So
smarminess? Oh man. Um you didn't like The Smashing Machine. Did you like After the
I
Hunt?
thought Smashing Machine was okay. I haven't seen After the Hunt yet.
Okay.
So it's Eddington. I did not like
Oh,
Eddington. Yeah.
interesting. Okay. I
Did
kind of
you
dug
like
Edding
Eddington?
I kind of dug
Yeah.
Eddington. I wrote a positive review of Eddington on Screen Age Wasteland.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear your thoughts about these things though, because I haven't really talked about this movie with anyone except Hannah, who also didn't like it.
I
Um,
That movie caught me on a really good day.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would think that it would have to
Yeah.
because it's a tough hang, which is fine. It
Mhm.
also wants to be like a we're not talking to each other anymore movie, which
Mhm.
is fair and I think a good way to make a movie, but or a good topic for a movie, but the dialogue is so satirical and over the top that it doesn't like really meaningfully engage. I
No.
thought that especially the young people storyline with how like it's so smarmy and really looking down on like, oh, these people are just posturing, they don't actually care about anything, they're just trying to get laid.
Yeah.
And so they're like engaging in these Black Lives Matter. Like
I
it
feel like the
felt
whole
very
movie is like all of the characters. It's all grift. That's
yeah.
which I kind of appreciate as a take about contemporary American life that everything that we do is just grift. Um, whether it be kids trying to get laid at a protest or politicians taking money from data centers that don't actually help their communities, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I also, in terms of just like understanding Ari Aster as like a director and his sort of creative path, this like Beau's Afraid did not totally click for me, but I kind of got it. And this was the like unpleasant nature of Eddington was sort of for me like what I was missing from Beau's Afraid, where I was like, oh, I kind of like that all
Interesting.
of this is like unpleasant and not a good hang right now in all of the ways that like I was hoping Beau's Afraid would be for me. But I think in terms of its like um I in terms of its worldview, I think that it at the end kind of communicates it clearly, but I think along the way, it's really easy to come to the conclusion that you came to where it's like, oh, this is like so unbelievably smarmy and annoying that we're like not actually communicating anything
Yeah.
real about what this movie like thinks about the world
Yeah, I
or
think it
American
sort
culture
of
in 2020. Yeah.
to me it defeated the purpose of like we're actually gonna like the approach defeated the purpose of like let's actually explore what's going on here and try to uh unpack some of the terribleness that we've experienced, but the approach being heightened makes us not actually look at the real issues to me of like if everything is if no one is acting in good faith and no one is actually actually trying,
Yeah.
then
Maybe if it didn't start off.
I don't see that actually in the world. There are some people that are like that, um but yeah, yeah,
Maybe
it
if the
just rubbed
whole
me the
thing
wrong
were
way.
heightened,
Yeah.
it would land better for you and probably for most people and like
No,
better as a
I
movie
think like
as opposed to like starting off in something that like feels kind of real and grounded in terms of like what our 2020 experience was and then you know sort of going off the walls towards the end of the movie. Like if everything were off the walls, then maybe the whole thing would have landed a bit better.
I do respond to like the pitch black satire like Network or Doctor Strangelove approach to things at times. Maybe it's because I'm not living in those particular times right now, but I think they still reflect something that's true about um media and politics today. So I do respond to those types of movies, but it's the smarminess that really rubs me the wrong way. Um, and so
I get
and
it,
I
man.
think
I
there are
totally get
some
it.
movies this
I
year, Bugonia and One Battle After Another, that also are engaging in these issues. One Battle After Another, it gets to that like satirical pitch. Bugonia does the like, let's actually explore what's going on psychologically, that Eddington does as well, but just does it better in a way that rings more true to what my experience of living life now has been. So that's where I'm at. I was like, you know, there there are movies that have done this a lot better, and I just didn't have the time for Eddington's approach. So
I think that's totally fair. Um, I'm not like an Eddington truther in that I need other people to like Eddington. I like I fully there's a world where I watch Eddington and I'm in the same boat as you, and I don't think that like any of it lands whatsoever. Like think of like
yeah,
Civil War, you know, like they feel like kind of similar, and Civil War did not hit for me at all. So I totally see a world where I watch Eddington and I'm like, this is not it. This is not working for me. Again, it just so happened to catch me on a really good day and I responded positively to it. But I, yeah, that's not like a movie that I'm going
yeah.
to like defend with all of my heart and soul. There's really no clean way to segue from, well, how about this? So we're talking about Civil War and Eddington, which are two very unpleasant movies to hang out with. They're very bad hangs. They're kind of
Yes.
mean spirited. Very, very, very unlike the movie that we are actually here to talk about today, which is The Thin Man, which is so pleasant, so delightful to be around. Such a good hang. This is a top tier good hang movie. So we can cleanse the palate of Civil War and Eddington and Frankenstein by chatting some Thin Man, which is great because, I feel like on the show we never, we try to keep it just all love, a lot of positive reviews, a lot of glowing language about these movies that we're talking
Hmm.
about. But every now and then, I think it's fine to be honest about movies
Yeah.
that aren't all that great, even though that's not the point of the show. But if we
Talking
don't know,
about, yeah. Oh, go ahead. I think you were about to say what I was just going to say. The people want to
I was
hear it
gonna
from
say
you.
no, the people want to hear it from you because they hear it from me all the time. What were you gonna say?
Uh, Knowing what you don't like can help you more appreciate what you do like. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Y-
n-
y-
recognizing the bad stuff and understanding why it doesn't work can help you better understand what does work in the good stuff.
Yeah. So we're chatting the Thin Man, where a lot of stuff works. This was my first time watching this movie. I loved it. I had a blast with it. Brian, when was your first time seeing this movie? Did you automatically fall in love with it? What's your story? What's your background with the Thin Man?
Yes. Okay. So my background with The Thin Man. This is the third time I've seen it now. The first time I
Okay.
saw it was part of the Movie Years project where I've recruited a bunch of folks on the internet to give me movie recommendations for every single year from 1900 to today, and I'd use a random number generator, pick the next year, get a list of things, and watch at least 5 movies. So this was one of the 1934, you get a year in the 30s, it's all pretty much old Hollywood stuff. And what I found in a lot of those years where a lot of those movies tend to blend in with each other, there's a lot of formulaic stuff. um,
Hmm.
so The Thin Man definitely stood out when I watched it as, oh man, this is so fun. It feels so original and fresh. Um, I'd say that first watch, I was maybe at 25% of following the plot of the murder mystery. But the thing about this movie is that you don't need to follow the details of the murder mystery really much at all to have a really good time with this movie, because it's such a hangout character movie and it's comedic. So you've got a lot going for it beyond like the logistics of the murder. The second time I feel like I was at about 50% comprehension of the murder mystery, and
Mhm.
it was, like, really trying, and maybe this time I got to, like, 75% of following who all of the,
Okay.
characters are. So,
Ye
I still don't know that I completely tracked all of it. Especially Julia Wolf has too many, she's having too many affairs with random guys.
Too many
3,
affairs to keep up with.
maybe 4 dudes she's sleeping with, and so it's just a lot of dudes to keep track of, who could have been involved in her murder.
You are making steady progress in terms of understanding and comprehending the murder
Yeah.
mystery plot. But
Mm,
like you
mm,
said, it's not that crucial to understanding and appreciating this movie. It totally feels like it's a bit of an afterthought because so much of the movie is about it's hangout vibes. You're hanging out with the Nick and Nora Charles characters who are so much fun. Um, so I guess to get into it, do you want to like maybe give folks like a quick brief synopsis or like idea log line of like what this movie is about, and then like everything that we're going to talk about like what makes it great will sort of fall into place by like having that framework.
yeah, certainly. So this is, a murder mystery movie. You meet, the, um the titular thin man in the first 10 minutes and sort of follow him along, but then he's missing for the rest of the film. Mr. Wynant and Clyde Wynant, goes missing. He has, a mistress who shows up dead later on, and basically Wynant's daughter Dorothy ropes Nick Charles, who's a retired detective, into basically solving this murder. Nick has recently married into quite a bit of money, and his wife Nora sort of wants to see him in action, so she goads him into helping with solving the mystery. You meet a host of different characters who all seem to be uh weaving into this big lavish party that Nick and Nora are throwing in the middle of the movie, and so you meet a lot of them then, and then he goes around, trying to solve and engaging with the police and various things. And of course, there's a big sequence with the reveal of who the real murderer was at the end of the movie. So that's essentially the shape of it. But it's just a ton of fun, and especially the characters of Nick and Nora and their dynamic are
Hmm.
really what makes this movie work. And so it's just fun to watch them. Uh, Play off each other and be incredibly drunk at all times.
Yeah, their martini drinking is impressive, to say the least. Like what is it about those two characters and those two leads that really do make this movie worth watching in your eyes?
Yes. So William Powell was a relatively prominent actor in the 30s. He was in a bunch of other stuff. The most famous other movie is called My Man Godfrey, which is also very good. Um, and Myrna Loy was also in a host of other stuff, but they have just tremendous chemistry together. They're newlyweds. They make faces at each other at various times and are just, very, we don't see a lot of like tension in the marriage. They're always sort of on each other's sides, but playfully,
Hmm.
sort of banter and fighting. And so it just is a really fun dynamic in the center of the movie where it's like, okay, they really love each other, but they're being playful with each other and bickering and all of this stuff. So it's just a really fun dynamic in the center of the movie, and separated from the drama of the movie, which is this murder mystery and who done it sort of thing that's being solved around them. But they're like this steady presence with really no arcs or development to it. It's just like, yeah, they're there, they're good, and we get to
Hmm.
watch them having fun while all of this chaos is happening around them.
Yeah, the like standard way that this story could be told would be that they're solving it or Nick is solving the murder mystery, but he is also dealing with issues at home with his spouse or with his marriage because he either works too much or he's not always faithful or whatever
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
issue might be. And because this movie takes such a different approach where it's like, nope, this couple, Nick and Nora, they're just super fun. They really, really love each other. They are like an incredible example of what a cool, fun marriage should look like and kind of like what we all aspire to have in our in our romantic relationships. Um, and it's just like, yeah, they're so delightful to be around the whole time. Well, at least
Mhm.
for me, while I was watching the movie, I was like, I kind of want to be at the bar drinking martinis with the two of them. That's all that I
Yeah.
want to do.
It's the place to be. My favorite moment probably in the whole movie is exactly what you were describing. Like a worse movie would have, Nick, maybe Nora thinks that Nick is interested in Dorothy, or like it's, oh, this woman from his past. But there's a scene where Nick is comforting Dorothy because, I don't know, she's found out some bad news about her father, she's worried, and so he like gives her a hug, and then Nora walks in the room and Dorothy doesn't see her, but like Nick makes a face at her and Nora makes a face back because she's like walked in on him like embracing another woman, and it's just so
Yeah.
perfect of like, yeah, she knows that he's not going to cheat on her. And
Yeah.
they're good, but it's just such a fun, like, it gives you the audience reaction of like, oh no, she walked in and now she's gonna like have insecurity or whatever, and then she just totally doesn't. And so it's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, like just gag, and like tells you a lot about their relationship.
Y 1000%. There's so many small moments between the two of them that where it's like just like a glance is shared and, so much is communicated about, like, their characters and, like, how we understand them while this murder mystery is happening around them. So, like, one of the interesting things about this movie is, it's based on a is it do you pronounce it Dashiell? Dashiell Hammett?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, based on a Dashiell Hammett novel, and, like, we would see later on in Hollywood, some of his other stories being adapted into movies and mostly becoming movies that we would come to know as, film noir, the probably most famous example being The Maltese Falcon. Um, but what this movie does that's super interesting is it takes that, like, hard-boiled murder mystery story template, and instead of just doing that, it makes it a screwball comedy, which I thought was pretty interesting. You, Brian, probably have a little bit more or probably a lot more, um, familiarity with movies from this time. So was this, like, really an outlier in terms of that kind of approach to telling a story, like, in Hollywood in the early 1930s?
Yeah, so noir is a lot more popular a little later on. I mean, there are certainly some prominent examples, and it's rooted in like the German expressionist silent films. So
Mhm.
there's examples of that style. This is certainly maybe towards the beginning of the screwball era. A lot of the, you know, his Girl Friday or Holiday, like those are sort of late 30s uh movies. So this is sort of kicking off and inspiring a lot of that tone.
Mhm.
And so I think it was tremendously popular at the time, and continues to be tremendously popular. But this is relatively early. I mean, so in my mind, you get sound pictures relatively early here, 1927, but then there are a series of years like the late 20s and early 30s where there are honestly not that many like truly great movies because everyone's trying to
Mhm.
figure out how to do sound well. And then you
Mhm.
have a couple of movies like Trouble in Paradise. Like Ernst Lubitsch was one of the first people to really figure out the formula for how to do comedies like that well. So Trouble in Paradise being a really significant one in 32 that is in sort of a similar style to this that I really respond to. Like it's it's about crime, but it's lighthearted and lots of
Mhm.
jokes. And like this movie, it's a pre-code movie, so they're able to make some sex jokes and talk more openly about affairs and things like that in a way that
Just to quickly
is
pause,
yeah.
in case anyone isn't familiar with what you mean by pre-code, do you wanna just
Oh
quickly
yeah.
explain what what we're talking about there?
Yeah. So the Hays Code were basically content restrictions. So think about it like you can only make movies that are G or PG from like the mid 30s through the 60s or so. It starts falling apart like the beginning of the 60s where people start slipping in more risque content. um so there were pretty serious limitations on talking about sex, the amount of violence that you could have in films, all of the things that we think of as like MPAA. You might get your film rated R for this sort of thing. So, but
Mhm.
some of these movies, in the early 30s, though, they're not like hard R movies, certainly, like by our standards, for the time they were very risque and sort of having fun with sex and uh included some more adult content than later films would. So yeah, you get a
There's
little
some
bit of that
good
here. Yeah.
sexual innuendo jokes in this movie for sure that are quite fun. Um,
I like the he's a sexagenarian. And then the guy says, "We
yeah.
can't put that in the paper."
And then the guy, yeah, he's like, "It means he's 60." And I think it's Nick who responds. He's like, "Are you sure that's what it means?" Yeah,
So good.
there are like some amazing jokes in this movie. What are some of your favorite standout jokes or bits or gags from this flick?
Okay, so everything with the younger son, Tommy, the
Mhm.
youngest Wynant son, who's like studying to be a psychoanalyst and is like staring very intently at all of the officers and talking about how he thinks people should be examined in particular ways. I find that character so funny. So all of his stuff would be, I think, my
Yeah.
answer for that. Yeah.
The the joke for me was I forgot who comes into their house um at like towards the end or maybe towards like the middle, and he pulls a gun on them, and for at first Nick is like, he's like, "Hey, can you put the gun away? My wife is fine with it, but I'm a pretty timid guy." And then she just goes, "You idiot." And, and then after that Nick says, "All right, shoot. I mean, what's on your mind? Ask me the question." Which is,
Yeah.
just amazing joke writing. Um,
Yeah. And then
did
the police come and knock on the door and he says like, "Hey, you've got the gun. That makes this your party." So good. Like, you figure out what to do with the people knocking on the door. I'm being held up.
yeah.
Uh, it's good.
Uh, it's good stuff. The so I don't have the names of the screenwriters in front of me. Do you happen to have their names? But I think it
Uh,
was a couple who co-wrote this together, and they were approached by
yeah, I've
the
got it.
director W.S. Van Dyke. Sorry, what are their names?
Yeah, Albert Hackett and Frances Goodrich, who had been married for 3 years.
Hell yeah. So they were approached by W.S. Van Dyke, which is, I gotta say, that is an all-time honky name, just in terms of like we're going like Mount Rushmore of like old white Hollywood names. W.S. Van Dyke
Oh
has to
yeah.
be up there. That's all time. It's just missing like the fourth. If there's not a W.S. Van Dyke the fourth out there, then frankly, I don't know what we're doing as a
Would it
country.
surprise you to learn that as a child actor, Van Dyke appeared with his mother on the vaudeville circuit with traveling stock companies?
That does not surprise me even a little bit. Um,
All of these real early Hollywood people were vaudeville folks.
yeah.
It's fun.
So I get yeah. So he had read the Hammett book, and he was like, "Okay, I want to make a movie out of this." But I kind of just want to focus on the relationship between Nick and Nora. Like the murder mystery is kind of an afterthought. So he approached the screenwriters whose names I've already forgotten, even though you just mentioned them. And he was like, "You guys are married. Can you just like write me a movie that is like mostly based around scenes between these two people, between this couple? Because again, we don't really care that much about the murder mystery, and you guys don't really know how to write a murder mystery." And they were like super skeptical of it, but they ended up getting nominated for an Oscar, which, is pretty cool because the script is is great because of where the focus in the movie ends up being.
Yeah. And that's such an interesting approach to be like, okay, we're going to make this who done it, but what we really need is people who understand how like happy married people talk.
Yeah,
Like so
yeah.
that's what we need in the screenplay. I think that's genius and really shines in like the way this movie actually comes together.
Another thing that helps this movie really come together is how it was shot. So obviously, um, the two leads are incredible and they're perfect for their roles, and that's a big reason why this movie is able to work and why there were like five sequels that came out of it. Um, I don't know if you if you saw that Van Dyke was they called him I'm forgetting what his nickname was, but he loved to just do one take of scenes. They shot this movie in like 14 days, and they gave
Yeah.
themselves like 3 days for like a couple of reshoots because he was like his whole theory was the actors won't be as unself-conscious as they will be in their first take. So really like the opposite of the like David Fincher, Stanley Kubrick kind of approach where it's like I will make you do 4,000 takes until you're basically like broken down and don't even know how to act out the scene that you're acting out. Van Dyke was the complete opposite. He was like, just give it to me one time and it's going to be something that we can work with. It's going to be the best version of your performance, which I think totally works for this movie. Like not all, filmmaking techniques need to be the same in order to get us to good results. But I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if you were familiar with the short shoot time or Van Dyke's like philosophy around how to shoot movies.
I wasn't, but that makes sense for the style of this movie where, you know, a lot of the doing a lot of takes type of stuff is to try to get rid of the artifice of the
Hmm.
performance. And here you sort of want the artifice. You want the movie stars to be like charming movie stars and have like
Yeah.
their most energy versus like a regular level of energy. So I get like, yeah, let's try to get it fresh and as good as possible like the first time we go. And try to like recreate some of the like okay, if we're having a big party, let's just like film for a long time and try to get like people in the actual element of what they're doing. Um so yeah, I think the approach shows in the movie.
Yeah. There were apparently also moments where he would tell the actors to just like rehearse their scene and he would like secretly have a camera going and like some of the takes that we see in the movie are just them rehearsing because again, he felt like that's when you're getting the best version of the performance because they're not fully thinking about how it is that they are performing it. They're more so thinking about how they're going to perform it. And I think to him, those were the best moments of acting. Which yeah, I find to be uh super interesting and totally something that works for this movie and like not something that like not a method that I had really heard before. There's kind of the um like I guess maybe like Soderbergh is sort of a let's just like shoot we'll set up like 1,000 cameras for coverage and give me like
Hmm.
one or two takes and then we'll put it together in post. um
Yeah.
but this isn't even that. This is just I think you are genuinely going to give me your best performance on the first take. um Brian, the last thing that, or maybe not the last thing, but one of the other last things that I wanted to ask you about this movie is this is was kind of a form of escapism during the Great Depression. You know, a lot of people are at home dealing with terrible, you know, life situations, terrible, like no job prospects, no money, nothing
Yeah.
like that. And then you go to the theater and it's just a movie about people who are maybe not rich, but like well off enough that they can just like hang out and drink martinis and solve murders. What do you, yeah, how do you see or view this movie as a form of escapism? I guess particularly for audiences at the time, because now it's probably not something that we would see as like escapism in 2025.
Yeah, not necessarily, but yeah, it does. It's not really trying to comment a whole lot, I wouldn't say, on, class or the other movie that I mentioned, Trouble in Paradise, is very much like satirizing the rich people. I don't know that we get that so much here. I mean, there are some, particularly in uh the Wynant family, some very money motivated people who are also very not painted in a very kind light in terms of their
Hmm.
intelligence. So I think you get some of like the dumb rich people that were common in movies of this time. Um but it is, like you said, it's very much like we're not it's a comedy. We're gonna have a good time, watching people being charming, and it is sort of a form of escapism in some way to be able to, you know, watch these people drink unlimited martinis and go gallivant with their dog around, and solve some crimes. So, um, yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Which is interesting because that seems like a hard sell for escapism when people are dealing with all kinds of economic anxieties and it's like I'm thinking like right now would people want to go see a
Hmm.
movie about rich people in New York or like not even rich people but just like comfortable people in New York drinking martinis and solving murders without it being like an explicit takedown of wealthier classes. Like all of our
Yeah,
escapism movies now that are in this vein. It's like The Menu and like Triangle of Sadness and things like that, or like Glass Onion, where it's very explicitly like, no, like the rich. It's funny because the rich people suck, not just like you're hanging around pleasant people.
yeah. Well, yeah, you didn't have people who were as rich back then as you do now.
Yeah.
People are more rich now. The very rich are more very rich now than they were in the 30s. So I think we think a little differently about rich people. Um, and are a little less like it was more like they could be the butt of the joke in the 30s, but we didn't need to like seriously consider um all of the harm that they're doing quite so much, I guess, in society's eyes at that time. So I think it's a little bit of a different time. And you can still like watch people. I think in the 30s, audiences can still watch Nick and Nora and be like, okay, that's something to aspire to, versus, oh, we need to think about how
Yeah.
these people are ruining society by being rich, you know?
100%. Totally something that we should aspire to. Have you seen any of the sequels to this
I have. I've seen the next one, which is called
after The
After
Thin
the
Man?
Thin Man. So it cracks me up that they named this movie The Thin Man, because then they really pigeonholed themselves in terms of sequels, because the Thin Man dies in this movie. But then
Yeah.
everybody sort of, because they start on with the sequels, they sort of start to think, oh, William Powell's the Thin Man, of course, because they keep making these Thin Man movies and he's in all of them. So they name the next one After the Thin Man, which is like, okay, he's we killed off the Thin Man in the first one, so now we need a different title for this movie. And then they have like Ballad of the Thin Man and a bunch of stuff that's like, eventually it's just like, you just need to start calling William Powell the Thin Man
The
now,
Thin
because
Man.
like, yeah, they do like Another Thin Man and Shadow of the Thin Man. It's just like, just make titles that make sense, or just use numbers or something. Goodness.
Too Thin, Too Man,
Too Thin, Too Man.
maybe?
Yeah, that would do
Yeah.
it. Uh
The Fate of the Thin Man.
the fate.
The Furious Thin Man.
That's good.
It's so silly. Um, yeah, it's kind of like the Knives Out uh movies now, where they all have to be called Knives Out, even though Knives Out is really just about the first one. It's like Glass Onion
Right.
and Knives Out mystery or whatever, even though it should just be a Benoit Blanc mystery. But
Yeah,
again,
the
just
marketing people tell you you have to have the original title in your name to sell more tickets. So you got to do it
yeah.
somehow. Yeah.
But then they don't sell tickets because it all goes straight to Netflix.
It
But
all goes
it,
straight to it gets more clicks though if it's got it
yeah,
on
it
in the title. I
it
do
worked
like
for the Thin Man.
I think a Knives Out mystery is a lot more elegant than calling things like Saga, or I don't know, what are the other terms for uh
Uh,
you know,
I don't
I
know.
think the Twilight Saga was the way. Like, we don't need to call things sagas.
Yeah, saga.
It's
What
just
is this? What is
sequels.
a saga? Yeah, it doesn't feel
No
right
one knows really.
because it's not like that epic. A saga
Yeah.
is. It's whatever.
Uh
Back to the Thin
it
Man.
started out in Viking lore, apparently, sagas. Yeah.
Oh,
Scandinavian
okay,
legends were sagas.
nice.
So
Any
Twilight
got
is
any
certainly
recommendations
not
for?
not a saga.
No, no recommendations for Scandinavian films, but
No,
maybe the
no.
next time that you're on. Um,
Maybe next time.
what about the dog? Great movie dog, all time movie dog here,
Oh,
top tier.
yes. The dog's primary trait seems to be that he's mostly a coward. Just hides every time there's violence. Also hides from the sex at the end, covers his eyes.
Yeah.
So the dog is enforcing the Hays Code single-handedly in this movie. Nobody else cares about the Hays Code but the dog.
What's his name? Astra.
Something like that. Yeah. Played by
The you know,
Skippy is the actual dog's name, and was in several other
hell yeah.
movies as well, including Bringing Up Baby, um,
Oh, nice.
which is also delightful. Is that in the canon?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would have to double check.
Hmm.
The meme when people say, I've got that dog in me, and then the dog in question is like is like
Yeah.
Pluto or something. Um can definitely be done with Astra or whatever, or Skippy here, got that dog in me, but the dog is always terrified of violence and sex and
Yeah.
and all the banter that my owners are having back and forth with each other. Great movie, dog, and also maybe most martinis per capita in a movie.
Yeah, it's gotta be up there, like, that scene where they're woken up in the middle of the night, I think they down, like, 5 martinis each during the 5
Yeah.
minutes when they're awake, just, like, back and
Is
forth.
is that when she's like, "Are you sleeping?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"Yes." She says, "Good, I wanna talk to you." Then he goes, You should have a drink, it'll help you go to sleep." Or maybe I should have a drink, it'll help me go back to sleep. And then he just gets up
Perfect.
and makes a martini, which is amazing. Like, what a time when people would just make martinis in the bedroom. Or I was joking at work the other day that we needed to bring back the Mad Men days of just drinking martinis in the middle of the day to get our creative juices and, business juices flowing.
Yeah.
Um,
Now I got this watch that yells at me. It says I get a poor night's sleep anytime I have a single beer, you know?
oh,
So,
yeah.
I've stopped drinking so much anymore because 'cause I'm not sleeping so well, you know?
And
So,
your watch is like, "It's because
what
you had a beer, buddy."
what would Nick and Nora think about a watch that tells them not to drink? Probably wouldn't think very highly of it, you know?
No, they would hate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they would. But it seems like they're getting good night's sleep, or maybe they don't need sleep because they're too busy just vibing out with each other, having a great marriage, you know?
Yeah. Talking in the middle
That's
of
what
the
it's all
night,
about. Yeah.
getting held up by random people busting into their house.
Solving mysteries.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I fully caught at the end who was the murderer. It was one of the
Yeah, and
boyfriends?
it doesn't you don't have to. So it's the lawyer. You meet the lawyer relatively early on.
Mm,
But he's the one who's like making the payments to various people, and then he's like skimming off the top for a little bit there. It's a little um because of the way that Nick is telling the story at the end, he tells it in such a way that doesn't implicate the lawyer, that says, like, okay, and then whoever was involved with Julia was then paying the lawyer, who then, or then telling the lawyer to pay whatever. But then he's the one that actually pulls the gun at the end on uh,
mhm.
the ex Wynant Mimi. So he's the one who was actually doing it. So yeah, you meet him relatively early on and sort of see him throughout, but there are so many characters. They want to give you like 4 or 5 people that it could be at the end there.
Mhm.
And so that's just a lot of people to keep track of. And so I don't know that you need to like know who each of them is in particular. It's more just their faces, and they want to preserve the element of surprise of like, oh, it could be sort of anybody and I don't know, and that makes this last scene so fun, of just like,
Yeah.
could be any of these people. He's just like
Yeah.
winging it and he figures it out at the end. So fantastic, like,
And he's like,
ending
"It
to
could
the
be you
movie.
for
Yeah.
all these reasons. It could be you for all these reasons." And then we find out it's the lawyer. Very fun stuff. An extremely delightful movie. Brian, I don't really have much else on The Thin Man unless you do. Unless you had any other
One
topics that you wanted to mention here.
Yeah, the third time through, the scene that really stood out to me is the party scene. So, you've
Mhm.
already met Nick and Nora at like a bar, and then they're hosting this lavish party with all of Nora's like socialite friends. And during the party, you get quite a bit of like plot information about what's actually going on in terms of who's missing and who knows what. It was just like all of these people who are involved in the story weaving in and out of this party that's being thrown, including the police and the Wynant family and uh, Julia's various paramours. And so you just like meet a ton of people, but it's all because Nick and Nora are there and are like juggling this party while juggling all of these unexpected people coming in. It just has so much energy and is just like an extended, really fun sequence that does actually quite a bit of work in like the murder mystery element while also just having
Yeah.
an immaculate vibe. So that was one that stood out of like, wow, this is like why this movie works is that it can juggle like having so much fun in an extended sequence like this while also moving this whodunit along pretty effectively.
Yeah.
So I really love
You
that sequence.
you hit the nail on the head with immaculate vibes. That's totally what this movie
Mhm.
is. Just immaculate vibes all around. And that scene does fully sum it up. I'm very excited to rewatch this movie. Um, kind of a Christmas movie, so maybe I'll rewatch it around the holidays. It takes place around the holidays, so I always complain about how there aren't enough good Christmas movies to watch,
Yeah.
but I feel like my problem has been I just haven't been going, far back enough.
Mm.
Like just recently
Have
watched
you
Miracle on
ever
34th Street and
Oh
It's a
yeah.
Wonderful
Yeah.
Life and all that, and like I was like, "Oh yeah, these are amazing. I can just watch these every Christmas instead of like Jingle All the Way."
Yeah. I do think I'm gonna try to show my kids Home Alone. I think they're old enough. 4 and 6? I think
Oh,
those are good
hell
ages
yeah.
for showing Home Alone. Though I am a little
E
wary that I'm gonna have a lot of traps set for me around the house, this
that
holiday season, but
that
it's a
might happen.
trade-off.
I showed it's a worthwhile trade-off. That's probably my favorite movie of all time. Not probably, it is my
It's
favorite
so
movie of all
good.
time. I showed my nieces that movie probably around 4 and 6, or probably maybe around like 5. I showed
Yeah,
both of them that movie, and they both absolutely adore it, and will
delightful.
now quote it back to me all the time. So, I'm very excited for your kids to experience Home
Mhm.
Alone, and I hope that they love it as much as I
Have
do.
have you ever, shot Christmas ornaments off the tree with a BB gun?
I have not actually.
That's
Have you?
and I have not, but it looked like fun in the movie,
Yeah.
so
It loo Ye Um,
You might need to have, like, a really, really bad hangover to completely affect, though, if we're going for what the movie's going for. They looked pretty hungover Christmas morning
yeah,
after
I
that
mean,
very lavish Christmas Eve party.
look, if I have to have a bunch of martinis on Christmas Eve and be hungover with a little air rifle on Christmas Day, I I can do that. I can take one for the
It's
team, and I
There are
can make
worse
that
ways to
happen.
be. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Worst ways to spend the holiday. Awesome. Well, Brian, this has been a lot of fun. I think we're probably ready to get into some recommendations. Home Alone probably won't be listed because it might newly be in the canon. But there will be
Ooh!
other movies that we're going to recommend, as well as perhaps some other things or more movies. Brian, you know the rules. I know the rules. We're recommending three things, all that good stuff. One movie, the others can be any and everything else. I would assume that you're gonna have three movies because you're
Oh,
a real
I'm the movies
cinephile.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always bring and I try to theme my movies, so I've done the same here. Yeah, I've
Oh
got
hell yeah.
3 whodunits, humorous whodunits. Well,
I love it.
m yeah, maybe not all humorous, but close.
But who done it nonetheless. Well, let's get into it. Whenever you're ready, give us your first recommendation.
Okay, you mentioned we've mentioned this one already, but the sequel to this movie is also very good. I'm not a big sequels guy. I tend to not like sequels as much as original movies. I don't know that The Thin Man After the Thin Man is as good as The Thin Man itself, but it does have Jimmy Stewart, which is very fun, and the nice thing about this is because the whodunit is not the main draw, Nick and Nora are the main draw, it sets it up so well for a sequel where um you know you get them coming back, you get another murder mystery, and you get to just have them having a ton of fun again. So I also really like After the Thin Man and would recommend for people who have seen just the first one.
Nice. Very sweet. I love that. I did not realize Jimmy Stewart was in the sequel, so that is definitely more reason to check it out because who doesn't love that guy? um,
Very lovable.
I very lovable dude, perhaps the most lovable. Um, for my first recommendation, I'm gonna recommend a book. So I have not read any Dashiell Hammett. Unfortunately, I'm not well versed in like old school hard boiled murder mystery novels, um, but sort of like newer age murder mystery novels that I do enjoy, that are also humorous. I read a couple of books from this writer in particular, and this one was probably my favorite. It recently was turned into an Apple TV Plus TV show with Vince Vaughn, but I think the book is a lot better. I'm going to recommend Bad Monkey by Carl Hyacin.
Very nice. I have not heard of that.
Yeah,
But
it's a fun read. Um, the TV show is not good.
good to know. All right, I'll skip
Yeah,
the television show. All right, my next one, we're gonna go to the 70s. There is a murder mystery called The Last of Sheila. Have you seen or heard of The Last of Sheila, Raph?
no, I have not. Tell me about
Okay.
it. Enlighten me.
It's got some people that you would recognize in it. It's got James Coburn, it's got James Mason, Ian McShane, Raquel Welch. So it's basically a bunch of people on an island and a basically a husband after his wife has died. He brings a bunch of people to an island and gives them a bunch of clues about who killed Sheila or who was responsible for the death of Sheila. And so it's a lot of like people doubting each other and mistrusting each other. And you're also trying to piece together what happened. So I thought it fit well. And it's an excellent movie, a really fun hang. Not as comedic, I'd say, as The Thin Man, but definitely scratches that like who done it or let's figure out
Nice.
what's going on here itch.
That sounds like a fun hang for sure. Um, adding it to the watch list again, the ever growing watch list that
Ever growing.
I seem to never have time to actually watch. Um, So what I'm going to recommend for my second recommendation is I'm also going to recommend a movie that's not on my watch list, but a movie that I haven't seen in quite some time, but I remember really digging when I was in high school. I don't know that I would fully dig it now, but um the only reason that I'm recommending it is because of the named leads. So obviously we have Nick and Nora Charles in this. So I'm gonna recommend Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist from 2008 because that's
Yeah.
like the most like if you were I think we're around the same age. So anyone who is like a younger millennial, like this is like right in our wheelhouse.
Oh yeah, and it's got to be a reference to this, right? What are the
It
odds, Nick and
must be.
Nora?
It
Yeah,
it has to be. I remember it having like a really fun soundtrack, like a ton of like indie rock music that I loved in like 2008 what was on this. I feel like there was like a Rat-a-tat song and I was like, "Ooh, I love those guys." And like a Kings of Leon song and I was like, "Yeah, that's sweet. I know what it's like to, take the train in from the suburbs into New York City and you have a wild night and stuff when you're in high school." So
yeah.
yeah.
One Crazy Night movies. Love One Crazy Night movies. It's
Yeah.
great.
Pretty good hang
All
for the
right,
most part.
pretty good hang. Uh, my last recommendation is from this year. I'm gonna recommend Black Bag
Oh,
because
nice.
there's so the dinner scene at the end of Black Bag is pretty explicitly quoting this movie of like we're going to set everyone down who's a suspect and talk through it and then a gun's going to be pulled dramatically, at the very end to reveal who actually did it. So very cleverly, I think, uses the framework laid out in this to deliver like a great finale. So Black Bag's going to be my third
Sweet.
recommendation here.
I love that. I have been meaning to watch that movie literally all year.
Oh,
It
it's good.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, on the top of my 2025 watch list. So whenever we end up breaking for between season 6 and season 7 of the canon, I'm going to be watching a lot of 2025 movies in December, and Black Bag will definitely be one of them. Um, awesome. I was considering recommending a movie from this year, the new Knives Out mystery, which I thought was pretty fun, but I'm not going to do that. Um, what I am going to recommend is, again, not a movie. I'm going to recommend a place
Ooh.
because, as we have talked about, they drink a fuck ton of martinis in this movie. And Brian, I got to tell you, I love the shit out of a martini. I
Martinis are good. Yeah.
Martinis are so good. So I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna recommend two places. So this movie takes place in New York, where they drink a lot of martinis. And if you are ever visiting New York, the place to go for martinis is going to be Monkey Bar, in
Mm.
Midtown Manhattan. I have not yet been. Actually, have I been there? No, I went and I walked out. But they apparently have like the best martinis that you'll ever find. So Monkey
Okay.
Bar in New York City for martinis. But I was like, I feel like I always recommend New York City places, and it feels like, you know, just like I'm just stuck in my own world where New York is the center of the universe, and that doesn't feel fair. And I was thinking, what's another great martini city? And I think
Ooh.
New Orleans might be a better martini city than New York City. So I'm going to recommend Muriel's in Jackson Square, or Muriel's Jackson Square in New Orleans for martinis. Also, great brunch or dinner spot. But if you want to just go sit at the bar, have some spooky martinis in a spooky city, Muriel's is the place to go. But if you're visiting New York and you want like a classic martini spot, you want to feel like Nick and Nora, you want to feel like someone who goes to cool dinner parties and solves murder mysteries, Monkey Bar is the place to go. Um, Brian, thanks again for hopping on. This has been a blast as always. We got to rail on some newer movies. We got to recommend some newer movies. We got to talk about a great old movie. Good times all around, man. Good times
Good
all
times
around.
all around. Yeah, always a pleasure to come on. Thanks for having me.
Before we get out of here, do you have any reviews or write-ups that you've done on the website recently? Anything on any recent episodes of What a Picture that folks should check out? You got any plugs for us?
Yeah. A couple of things I've written for the site. Recently, I wrote reviews for Syrah and It Was Just an Accident, which are both international movies. Domestically, I did Bugonia and The Mastermind. All of those movies are definitely worth seeing and talking about. So it's been very fun to engage with them and think about them a little bit more critically. So I did not write reviews for any of those movies that I did not care for as much. So it's been I tend to try to stay on the positive side and think and talk more about the things that I really enjoy when I can. um
Awesome.
so yeah,
We love
it's
that.
been fun to mostly enjoy the stuff that I've agreed to review for the site. So yep.
Good stuff. Yeah. I always love your reviews. They're always great. I haven't seen any of those movies, so all of those reviews are waiting to be read until I see the flicks. There have only been a few movies that you've reviewed that I've read the review before actually seeing the movie. But um, yeah, man, good stuff all around. Folks can also catch us on some upcoming episodes of Jacob's Pole Position for the website that'll be up on the Screenage Wasteland YouTube page, I think, as YouTube exclusives. And we'll be back here with another episode of the Canon next week. Um, if I can, get my shit together, uh, next week, our Thanksgiving special episode will be bicycle thieves, because nothing says Thanksgiving like an Italian father and son searching Rome for their stolen bicycle. Jason Christian will be back for that episode. Screenagers, we will see you there. And as always, in the meantime, we will catch all of you lovely folks in the wasteland. Bye, y'all.